Hi, shalom friends. You have to have mazel, which sometimes is translated as luck, in everything, even to be famous. I mean, after all, who hasn't heard of Thomas Edison or Alexander Graham Bell? I mean, they're very famous. Electricity, the telephone. But when I ask you a question, do you know the name of the gentleman that created the zipper? That's pretty useful, my friends. And actually, if you look around, you'll see that there are thousands and thousands of inventions, maybe hundreds of thousands of inventions that make our life better, more productive, far more comfortable, and no one knows who actually created it. Okay, well, you need mazel. Today I want to share with you something, and that is I'm going to make you famous. Now, I can't say I'm going to make you famous, but I'm going to share with you a secret that might make you famous, and that is there is a problem, maybe an illness. It's always been with mankind, but especially in the latter part of the 20th century, and certainly now in the 21st century, this illness has reached epidemic proportion. And there are very wise people working on the solution. In fact, there's a $1 trillion industry which is focused on this particular problem, and they have not solved it. And I, for one, want to share with you how you may solve this world epidemic. Are you at least a little bit intrigued? Okay. It is boredom. What's boredom? Boredom is when you don't know what to do. See, when you have something to do, you're not bored. Or when you're occupied with something, you're not bored. But when you have that time, which seems to be free, suddenly it becomes oppressive. It literally becomes a burden. Which parent has not heard, "Ma, I'm bored"? Which teacher has not heard, "Teacher, I finished my work. What am I supposed to do?" And which adult has not confronted the idea of a long weekend, which they've been anticipating, an entire week, and then, what am I supposed to do with this weekend? Well, where's the $1 trillion solution? It's called entertainment. You're bored? Take in a movie. You're bored? Surf the internet. You're bored? Take a vacation. In fact, you're bored? Make some trouble. Take a drink, and so on and so forth. Actually, I truly believe that a lot of the beverage and food industry, the hotels and the restaurants, and especially the bars, cater primarily to people that are bored. Because if you're busy, who has time to take a drink, to leave the house, and to spend a lot of money for the type of food that you can make better in your own home? But when you're bored, who wants to stay home? There's nothing to do. So I'll spend the time. So you get my drift. We're all there. All of us have experienced it. We're busy, constantly being busy, looking forward to that time where we could, quote unquote, relax and not be busy with doing anything, and then very shortly thereafter we become bored. So, how are we going to solve this problem? And how can you, dear listener, how can you become famous in solving the problem of boredom? Well, I believe that man who was created in the image of God, as it says in the Chumash, in the opening verses of Genesis. I believe that the answer is found in those opening verses. In the beginning of creation, the world was tohu vavohu. It was void, it was without form, and as the commentators explain, it was so empty you would be astonished of how empty, chaotic this creation, this world seemed to be. It's hard to picture, so we won't even try. And then when God makes order and brings in a system, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Now, in our world, in the physical world, we associate light with sun. In fact, we call it sunlight. All the metaphors that we use for light, illumination, are usually connected with the concept of the sun. But you don't have to be a Bible scholar to know that the creation of the sun takes place on the fourth day, and yet God said, "Let there be light" on the first day. Now, there are many, many learned, holy, mystical, ethical lessons from this problem, and the great rabbis of old have offered solutions. I want to offer a thought, perhaps a bit in jest, but I believe it's still a worthwhile thought. What the Torah is telling us is that you don't need a sun to create light. The whole idea of, let's go back to boredom. I have nothing to do. Okay, I'll give you a computer. Now you have something to do. I'll give you a board game. I'll give you a book. I'll give you a tennis racket. So you're not bored anymore. And then, of course, you have to utilize it. Well, what happens if you don't know how to use the computer, or you're not in the mood of the computer, or it's raining outside and you can't use the tennis racket? You are back to our problem, boredom. You can't use something that's outside of you to take away to take away a problem that exists within yourself. But there's another possibility. There's a possibility of creating light when there is no sun. Well, what kind of a light can there be when there is no sun? Clearly, it's non-material, something that we would use the word spiritual. Well, in order to picture light without a sun, picture the people that you don't want to talk to. Not because you're frightened of them, or they could harm you, but they're the type of people that when you meet them, they give you the feeling of a dull toothache. It's just something that it's not comfortable. You could tolerate it, but you would prefer not to have it. And there are people that we meet that give us that feeling. And then there are others that we look forward to meeting. Just saying hello, spending some time, fills you with the feeling you get when you go outside and it's a sunny day. You walk away lighter, you walk away brighter, you walk away feeling more optimistic, filled with energy. And they did nothing other than be who they are. They didn't give you a tennis racket. They didn't give you a toy. They didn't offer you a vacation. Instead, they radiated a type of energy, perhaps, that we would call light. Not the sun has not yet been created, but light is. This, my friend, is the solution to boredom. When one has nothing productive to do, then what you should do is produce light. And you don't need a lot to produce light. You don't need a sun. You don't need necessarily water and fish. You need to be like God. God creates light. You create light. You're bored? Smile. You're really bored? Make someone else smile. You're profoundly bored? Bring a smile to many. Bring light to many. Bring optimism to many. You say, hold it. We're going away from me to the world. I'm not that type of a guy that could bring light to the world. Friends, then open up the Torah. It's a book of light. When you study Torah, you become filled with this light. And by nature, or by definition, once you are filled with light, you'll be able to share that light with others. You remember I started off with two names that are famous, and then the many other unknown famous names. One beloved legend that's found in American folklore is about a man who actually lived right around 180 years ago. His name was Johnny Chapman. You might have heard of him because he's called Johnny Appleseed. And according to the legend, based on truth, he was a man who actually created many orchards and used it to mark territory and so on. But according to the legend, here's a man who goes around throwing seeds on the ground, apple seeds, in the tens of thousands, all over, wherever he goes. He's dressed like an eccentric, and he's planting seeds. He will never see those trees that grew from these seeds. And yet, the apple industry and the wonderful apple that millions and tens of millions and hundreds of millions of Americans have eaten and enjoyed can be traced back somehow to this man, Mr. Chapman, at Johnny Appleseed, who planted seeds. Be a Johnny. Why don't you create some light? Be liberal in your smile. Be liberal in your happiness. Be effusive in your concern. Be that person that creates light. Be like a God. Bored? We have our work before us. Let's hope and pray and do that we will create light, so much light, that darkness will be banished forever. The righteous Mashiach will come, and then there won't be anyone that's bored anymore, because the opportunity to connect to the divine will be in front of us, beckoning. Work, enjoy, produce, connect. That day is very soon. Shalom.